So I have the honor and great pleasure of introducing a new friend, Sister Helen Prejean. You have to know that when the Spiritual Development Council kind of got going, we had a hit list of big names that we wanted. Bishop Tutu was one, Jim Wallace was another, and I think you were the third. And so we're 2 out of 3 ain't bad. We had to wait a little bit, but it's been worth it. And I just wanted to say in introducing her and letting her really help us understand this, that in reading her book, I was struck by the fact that her involvement in this issue wasn't an intentional calling from God, that the heavens opened and God said, Sister Prejean, I think you'd like to do something about this. It was kind of, she agreed to be a pen pal, something any of us might be willing to do. And so it's kind of encouraging to know that the nuns don't have a special pipeline. They have to figure it out just like the rest of us. But the difference is that she went on to make this a mission for her life, and especially to understand that secrecy and not talking about it is what allows it to continue. And I think that's true in the faith communities. We really don't talk about it. It's really not our problem. It's just under the radar. And I think the change that she's wrought by her books and her work has been to get us to talk about it and to think about it and to have the courage to talk to others about it. So we welcome you back to Montana. And thank you.
I'll just hold it, and that way we'll be sure. How long I have? 20 minutes. Little insight into Darwin here, because people say survival of the fittest, Darwin, which means blood and tooth and claw, fight that way. What he really meant was fit in the environment and what's happening. Those that fit in and can read the signs of the time, to put a little faith perspective on it, live and endure and evolve. It's the whole thing of life. And I want to fit in, so that's why I want to be careful of my time. This is so rich already. You know who I love the best in this room? Are the people who came and said, I used to be for the death penalty, never thought about it, but now I don't know. My wife worked on me or whatever. And changed. And this has been my discovery. 20 years now, getting on the road, crisscrossing this nation, all kind of audiences. You know what the thing is about people in the death penalty? Somebody just said it. It's not that people have thought about this and are deeply committed to having the death penalty. They never think about it. We do not live in a culture that reflects deeply. We have a fast-paced life, look at Fox News, get the sound bites, not think. And what spirituality is about is to go beneath the surface, to think deeply, and to connect at the deepest wellspring. And that's what life's about. And that's what spirituality is really about. So all of us that come in here, it's fascinating to hear everybody. We're like this little network. I want to take my little few minutes to just share with you, and it is about the journey, and it is about how do we discourse. Any faith perspective is always, how do you share the good news with other people? What's the journey? What's the witness? What's the life-changing thing? Let me tell you, whether it's Jesus or... See, in Judaism, they figured out a way not to kill anybody. They figured out a way because wise rabbis took the scriptures and meditated on them and interpreted them and chose life. And we all are engaged on this journey. Now, know this, that in the 80s, when I began, I wrote to Patrick Sonnier in 1982, and lo and behold, in April, it was just the anniversary, April the 5th, he was killed in front of my eyes. I watched a human being strapped into a chair and electrocuted to death. And mine was the last face he looked at before they killed him. So, I mean, and if you notice in the accounts of Jesus' death, they just put like one sentence, and they crucified him there. What words are you going to put of the killing of a human being. And I was drawn into this, sucked into this, seduced into this. Sneaky God, get me into this. I mean, you don't set out to say, I'm going to be a nun who goes to death row. I mean, you don't set out to do this stuff, but you get involved with human beings. And what cracked me open was, first, I came to understand of Jesus was always on the side of the poor and the marginated people and the thrown away people and the despised people and the hated people and the people who are regarded as, this is the refuse of human life. These are scum. These are animals. Opening salvo from the chaplains that I interviewed to go to the prison in Louisiana, the priest said to me, sister, you have to remember these people are the scum of the earth. They're going to try to con you. And this was the chaplain at the Louisiana State Penitentiary. Since the 70s, mainstream churches began, the leaders began to issue statements against the death penalty. I mean, I remember we assembled the list of all of them, Presbyterian, Methodist, Catholic bishops, about the death penalty. And it was statements on paper. And you got to the people in the pews, and the people are saying, fry him. Because you never heard it from the pulpit. Because people who are the leaders in the community know to open up that can of worms, to get into these controversial issues. And that was the first discovery about being with poor people, is that controversy starts following you like a hungry dog when you start getting involved with poor people. Look at the health care debate. If you're taking the side of poor people in the health care debate, look what happens at the Thanksgiving Day table. Look what happens. And because I was privileged, see, I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's first, I'm writing the spiritual journey that led me to death row right now. It'll be my third book, and it's wonderful to go back to just see how grace unfolds in your life. I never made the connection between justice and my faith. I lived in a spiritual, I wanted to be prayerful, I wanted to be holy, I was a good nun, I taught kids. And African-American people are being shot by the police. They're dying in a neighborhood literally almost abutting our mother house in New Orleans. And I never went to any of those places. I didn't know any of those people. And what did my faith have to do with going and being involved with African-American people in the inner city? I mean, the big problems, that's what God takes care of, right? I mean, you know, you pray for all the poor people in Haiti or whatever. Yeah, we send some money. Or you know, you get your cans for Thanksgiving with the yams and the baked beans and the turkey and send it to the poor. I thought charity was just fine, what you had to do. What do you mean we're going to get in there and start to change structures? What? I didn't know about social sin. I didn't know about it. And that waking up. Waking up. A great story about Buddha. He's coming along and people say, what are you? Who are you? Are you a god? Buddha says, no, I'm not a god. Well, what are you? You a prophet? No, I'm not a prophet. Well, what are you? He said, I am one who is awake. And all spiritual traditions are about awakening. And that connection that we are all brothers and sisters. And now it's even being extended to Earth and the planet. And you can't live in Montana and not be connected to Earth. So the awakening led me to poor people, saw them in the neighborhood. So the prison coalition offices, they are meeting people now involved in working for justice. Like us. People involved. Best definition of justice ever heard. Just us. You ever notice? Small group of people, but you're awake and you're active. And so things begin to happen.